Welcome to Sacred Earth Journey Roundtable. I'm Anna Saladino, your host, and I have an exciting guest with me today that I actually met when I visited the Gurdwara in Irving, and I have Gunwant with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about her journey and just some fun experiences and just how you've gotten to where you are today, culturally speaking, personal insights and experiences that you have faced. So I'm excited to have you on. You were born and raised where? What's your background? What's your ethnicity? What faith, denomination, area was your family? All those things.
Yeah, so Waheguru Chika Khalsa, Waheguru Chiki Fateh, Satsiriaka, Namaste, Hola, and hello everybody. I grew up in California. I'm from San Diego, California, and my parents are from Mexico. My mom was born in a state called Guerrero, which means warrior.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
I like it
I'm
already.
Guerrero. So, and my dad is from Mexico City. So I always say that it was like a city boy that married like a country girl. So like they found each other, right? And so yeah, my parents are from Mexico, but my dad's, I guess, family lineage or ancestors are from Lebanon. So I have this like
Bet
blend.
you didn't guess that one.
Yeah, I have this like random blend. So yeah, I look pretty like, I guess, culturally androgynous. Whenever someone like from South America sees me, they're like, oh, are you Brazilian? Or like someone from whatever country, like I can blend pretty well. And so
She could be a spy.
hire me. I'm just playing. That's like not at all what I'm interested in. So
See, now you know she really is. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so that's so funny. I love that. Just like your background informed it, like, oh yeah, they make a really good spot. If I
Sorry,
get cool,
it just stays
that's
with me.
so funny. If I could get some cool gadgets, like, hey, that'd be like a job perk.
There you
So,
go.
Yeah. I was born and raised in San Diego, California, and my older sister, 3.5 years older. Shout out to my sister Jenny. She also is.
Hi, Jenny.
She also was born and raised in California, and I spent my first 14 years of life there. I did elementary school, middle school, and then my family decided to move across the country, and we went to North Carolina. Total culture shock, right? Talking about cultures, like growing up with this like...
You literally went from the West Coast to the East Coast. Wow.
Yeah. And so when I did, there was a moment where in my mind, I was like, yeah, like Martin Luther King Jr., like there's no more racism in the world. And granted, I lived like 5 minutes from the Mexican border in San Diego. And so for me, I grew up seeing like Border Patrol agents all the time. Like in my family, we had a ice cream truck business. So that's actually how my parents, so my parents started that. And we lived in an apartment when I first grew up, and then eventually, they saved enough, and then we bought our first house in California, and then we, were able to invest in a larger property in North Carolina. So we just kept like upgrading, and it was this thing where I knew obviously that there's a lot of like racism against Mexican people, even in California, but still like San Diego's really chill, and because it's predominantly Latinx, people like get along for the most part. And so when I moved across the country, I was like, oh yeah, like racism is like in the past. Like in school, it would always be framed as something of the past, like always like very black and white pictures.
It's over now.
Yeah, we've defeated it. And so it was just really funny because I ended up going there and experiencing a lot of racism for the first time. Not for the first, but like more for the first time in my life.
And you were how old at that point? 17?
Yeah, I was 14.
14,
yeah,
okay.
like 14 going on 15, I think. Yeah, 2005, so yeah, 14. And so as it turns out, I experienced that, and somebody mentioned the phrase Bible Belt to me, and I had never heard of that before. I was like, oh, this is the Bible Belt. This is where it's, as we were mentioning earlier, where religion also influences how people perceive one another racially, culturally. And it's so funny because in the first interview that I participated in with you at the Gurdwara, you had asked me a question. You had asked me if I'd ever experienced any kind of, I guess, discrimination based on my faith or my religion. And I said that, oh, I'm a baby Sikh. I hadn't really. But after the interview, I realized, oh, wait a minute, actually, flashback, actually, like, there was a moment in high school where I was working at it was like a little town, right? It was like in the suburbs, and I was working at a pizza shop, and I was a server, and most people would think that I'd make a really great server because I'm like very chatty, but I was actually a terrible server because I would just like forget about grabbing
She's
salt.
never bringing the food, but she could
Right,
bring the
literally,
conversation.
I would forget to bring like the salt, and people are like waiting, but I'm over here chit-chatting it up with another table, like no. So that's not my calling, but I ended up working at this place, and my boss, he was this like very, very like large and tan Italian man, and as it turns out, he ended up one day, I have really curly hair, and I was driving my car, and my hair was, I think, like still drying, and just I had the windows down. I didn't want my curls, flying all over the place. Yeah. So I ended up like putting a scarf around my hair, and I walked into the job, and he was like, "Oh, my little terrorist," and I was like,
this is not representative of all Italians.
Yeah, no, but
shame on him.
Yeah, but that particular moment made me realize, like, oh wow, like I can't even like cover my hair without.
Were you practicing Sikh? You weren't at the time. Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, but for whatever reason, like in my heart of hearts, I've always worn like long sleeve clothes. I've always, for the most part, dressed pretty modestly, and going back to my upbringing, like my parents, when they got together, my dad had a Catholic background, and my mom didn't really have any religious upbringing. Okay. But when they got together, they became Mormon. And so I grew up Mormon. Yeah. I grew up Mormon, and then my family eventually became Christian. I did become baptized as Christian. Okay. And then eventually, when we moved to North Carolina, my parents were still very, very Christian, very involved in the church. And I was kind of just like not interested at all.
Christian Mormon or...
That's a really good question. I'm not. Yeah, I love.
She is a riddle.
I don't remember, to be honest. It was like very, I wouldn't say like Pentecostal, like it didn't have that label, but it was also very much like large musical ordeals and like praising.
So maybe like, evangelical.
I don't know. Okay. But just like also the speaking in tongues and singing and dancing. Charismatic is the word that you use. I would need to find out. That's a really good question. But
we're both learning a lot about our faith backgrounds today in these interviews.
Our own upbringing, like, I don't know. But that's the great thing that we start to learn, like, okay, that's my gap in my memory, right?
Yeah. So we may intentionally be blocking some things out. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things where, for me personally, when we're young, like, I mean, I know that I was taken to church, but I've always questioned. I've always been a rebel. I've always questioned authority. I remember being a kid, and there was this one point, I think I was maybe like 5 or 6 years old, where like my parents told me like to do a chore or something like that, and I was like, "You're not my real parents." I was like, thinking like Creator is my real father, Mother Earth is my real mother. Like y'all are like y'all. Like, yes, my mother birthed me, but like I told, and I had this knowing of like they're not my real parents, like on a spiritual level, and so I ended up being a child that questioned a lot. And so when I was in high school, I got into like heavy metal and partying and doing all this stuff. Still like a straight A student, but very much like not interested in religion. And as it turns out, like culturally, like my dad, he grew up Mexican, but when he became a citizen of the US, he would very much want to have that identity. He would, whenever I would say oh, like, but you're Mexican, he'd be like, "I'm not Mexican," and I'm just like, and my dad.
So he was wanting to be identified as just American, or?
Yeah, well, the thing is that like my dad, who passed away in 2018, so peace be with them. Like with him, he was a very intelligent person. And so when I was really young, especially growing up on the border, for me, like growing up near the border, he would always he had me read like the Declaration of Independence when I was like, I don't know, like 7 years old. He had me like memorize the what is it? Not the Ten Commandments. What is it? The
Bill of Rights?
The Bill of Rights. Thank you. Yeah, I memorized like the Bill of Rights. Like one of my
I was listening in school.
Thank you. Yeah. One of my first like jobs that I had as a kid was my dad was a paralegal. So like at the age of like 6 or 7, I would be translating legal documents from Spanish to English.
Wow.
So I was learning a lot about the law, and he had me like learn the difference between nationality and culture and identity, and like he would show me like the definitions. And I think that a lot of people they especially mix up race with nationality and culture, right?
I think we still do this. The forms are very confusing because it's like the list Latino, European, Black, white. I'm like, wait, what? What are we doing? Which one?
Exactly. And even like the term Hispanic is actually a term that was made up like by the US Census. Like this is not a term that like Latinx people, indigenous people took for themselves. Like this is
what does qualify as Hispanic exactly?
If I recall correctly, it's being of origin of like Española, so Spanish origin. Right? So technically, like my mom, I believe she does like ethnically have like Spanish roots as well as like indigenous like Mexican roots. So for me, like technically that would count. But
so where would someone born in Mexico, where would they fall?
I think that like, and that's where it goes into it gets challenging, because Mexican, that could be their nationality, but that might not be their culture, their heritage, right? And their race, right? Because like Mexico is not a race, like Mexican is not a race, like this is a country, right? And there's many different like tribal ethnic groups within the country. So I think that when it comes to like cultural stewardship, I think it's like for me foundational to know the difference between all of this vocabulary, right? Ethnicity, nationality, race, and what is it like? Identity really is what we're talking about, because at the end of the day, like we're all human. So the minute we start to like classify and subcategorize,
so much.
That's where the division starts, right? That's where we start to see each other as separate, and we don't recognize that we are all one. Like you wouldn't call like, and I don't know anything about cows, but like you wouldn't call like a spotted cow versus a brown cow. You wouldn't say like, oh no, like they're totally different. Like no, a cow is a cow, it's just a different color, right?
But you do have Brahma and you do have Holstein, so
you know more, you know.
Wow, you said
Okay, right. But so then that goes well, and also that's about like scientific categorization, right? So like this
species,
idea, it's like this idea of like how can we like have precision within our language. I think that that's really the aspiration, like the human aspiration is like how can we like define something, right? And how can, and by defining it, understand it.
Absolutely.
Right? So
and I don't think that identifiers are a bad thing. I've been talking about this a little bit on Sacred Earth Journey. I'm seeing something take place in America, what I call cultural dilution, as in something is being diluted. So the latest generations, or the youngest generations in America, I believe are susceptible to this cultural dilution theory, where we have really encouraged to drop the hyphens and to Americanize our culture. Well, in that process, we're also losing heritage, cultural identity, and things like this. So our younger generations don't really know a lot about their cultural heritage. So they also are lacking true identity. They don't know their origin. Humanity, by nature, we long to belong to something. And so when we don't know what we belong to, we seek to belong to something, and this is where radicalization and indoctrination begins to jump in.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, and you brought up the idea of like hyphenating, right? Like my thing is that like America is North America, Central America, South America. Turtle Island, right? Anahuac, like this is indigenous land. And when we start to think that, we like white individuals can simply identify as like American. I say we because my dad had white skin,
which a lot of Lebanese actually do.
Exactly. So I think that, and for me, like obviously I'm tan, but like I recognize that DNA is within me. So that's why I say like we. But like, we have, for the most part, we have access to all the DNA. Like the mitochondrial Eve, the first mother, was a Black woman. So when we start to realize that, from a Black woman came all of the other races, then that's when we start to realize like, we need to learn about all cultures. Like, like it's wonderful to like start with your own. Like if you don't know yourself, then like definitely like start with your own culture. But the minute you start to realize like, this goes deeper, you start to recognize that, not only am I a child of planet Earth, but I'm a child of the universe. And you start to realize and connect with your galactic family and realize that, this is much, much bigger.
That's such a cool term, galactic.
This is much bigger than just this planet, right? This play that we're living in. So recognizing that, like, do I know the cultures of my star families? Like, do I know, like, we have to actually, through meditation, tap in and recognize that like this is just like, child's play. The problems of the planet Earth, the wars, the violence, all of this is like we're in kindergarten, right? Like we need to like wake up and realize that like this is petty. And so going back to this idea of like knowing oneself, I think that yes, we have to know like that vocabulary of ethnicity, race, and culture and identity, right? But then for me, another thing that we need to know is the definition of the word culture, or rather the origin, I would say, the etymology of the word culture. For me, from what I've heard and learned and understood, the word culture comes from agriculture. Like the land is where culture comes from. Like it starts there. Like if you live up on the mountains, then you're gonna have a certain diet of like potatoes and like llamas or whatever. I'm thinking specifically of like Peru or like the Andean cultures, right? But like whatever your nourishment is there, you're gonna have a certain worldview. As you were mentioning, there are some people who never leave their home pueblos, their home, how do you say pueblos? Towns, their hometowns,
village,
state village, right? Yeah. There's some blessed souls who will not be blessed with the opportunity to travel the world, right? And I think that coming from a place of such privilege where we do get to see more, I think that it's so important for us to recognize that like, okay, like we're able to see more of the earth, right? And how can we be better stewards of the earth, right? And I think that like Sacred Earth Journey, like literally like the name itself is like Sacred Earth. So recognizing that like, for me personally, one of my personal missions is to be a steward of the earth, right? Recognizing that without her, we have no life. Right?
Let me ask you, because so we're swapping. She interviewed me earlier for her podcast. We'll give information about where you can get in touch with Gunwant. You, and what I stated in that interview is, you are an enigma to people because, I mean, truly, right? Because you were born of a certain culture. Your parents come from multiple cultures. And, if someone was to just come upon you and be introduced to you, maybe they're going to think they're going to have a certain assumption about you. Maybe it's confusing to people. You are a fairly new Sikh. What encounters have you had with people where they assume something about you, whether it be ethnicity, heritage, culture, faith, all the things? Give me an example of a negative encounter with someone, and then an example of a positive encounter with someone where maybe somebody showed up with more curiosity, and then the other one where somebody showed up with assumption. And how did you respond to those experiences? How do you wish more people would show up? Not just for you, but for one another in general.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that it's difficult for me to remember the negative because I'm like, it passed, it doesn't matter anymore, it's like not in the present moment. So that's why I think that when you first asked me that, I was like, oh no, life is great. Like, nothing bad has happened. So yeah, I'm gonna need to think about that one a little bit more. I think the most recent opportunity for someone meeting me and being curious is right here, right now, what is happening, right? But I have moments like that so often, and it was really beautiful to witness you having a similar moment with the owner of the coffee shop where we're currently, located. And yeah, I think that just when we're open vessels and have an open heart, every single connection becomes an opportunity for heartfelt connection.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's not just like, oh, like I'm gonna just like check out at the counter and like be on my way. Like, no, I'm gonna like ask them how their day is going. I'm gonna like, just like make small talk, right? Yeah. It's just, for me personally, I love spending time alone. So I love it. And when I'm around people,
I actually do too. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I'm around people, I'm like, great people. And when I'm alone, I'm like, great, alone.
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
Your social battery just like deflates quickly, and you need time to recharge.
Yeah. And I think also just like, for me, I love researching, whether that be like tangible research, like reading or just whatever, like online.
Okay.
But for me, like every interaction is also research, right? So it's just
Absolutely.
a different type of research. And I think like being a fellow seeker, like when we're looking for the truth, we don't turn that off, right? We don't just say like, oh, I'm gonna just like go on holiday and like not experience this incredible existence. Like, no, like every single moment, right? And that's for those of us who really, really cherish every single second, every single breath. And so, yeah, I'm not recalling any particular moment right now where someone might have, misunderstood me, or like, perhaps being misgendered, I think, is the most common, because I identify. Yeah.
How?
So like I was mentioning earlier, like I identify as being two-spirit. So for those who don't know, being two-spirit is someone of an indigenous background who embodies both masculine and feminine energy. And these are typically the community storytellers, community healers, community stewards of culture also, funnily enough, now that I remember. And so I think that just because when people see me, they see like female vessel, but I've never felt fully female or fully like woman, or at least not in the way that most people, I guess, like classify women to be. Like I said, I've always been a rebel. I've always like I was a tomboy.
You're in good company.
Yeah, I was like a tomboy growing up. And
Same.
Like, so that's why I'm just like, I think that there's certain, for me, like to be fully embodying like the divine feminine energy is to be someone who is balanced in their masculine, right? Where it's like Shiva and Shakti, like for Hinduism, like someone who is like fully integrated, right? Where there's no more war and conflict within. And I think about how like within, let's say, like a marriage, like there's like, or like a family unit, like usually it's like a masculine presence and a female presence, right? But what I've noticed of most like spiritual masters, enlightened beings, these are beings who are able to embody both, right?
So it sounds like you're talking more about like just a balance and equilibrium of the system, whatever the system is, whether it's your personal system or the universal system. You're really speaking about balance and equilibrium.
Absolutely, and I think especially like in this like patriarchal society, right? Like we used to have like matriarchal societies, like within indigenous cultures especially. It was like the grandmothers that would decide collectively who is going to be the like community leader, right? Or like the chief, right? And so I think that we've gotten away from that. And it's interesting because there's a story that's coming to my mind now, of the story of like colonization, like the colonization of Mexico, where the Spaniards came, or I'm sorry, it was the colonization of the United States, the United States of America, where the Europeans, the British, came, and the chiefs asked, where are your women? Right? And it's like there's like this, as you were mentioning earlier, this mindset of like conquering and colonization and patriarchy. Like for me, all of those things go hand in hand, where it's like, can we please go back to the mother earth, the matriarchy, the community, right? Centering the children, centering the elders, centering those who need the mothers, right? Like those who need the most support, rather than uplifting, like, presidents or governors who are just not always in the best mindset to be leading entire countries, let alone.
By the way, many cultures still are matriarchal. Some of them, it's not just so upfront, but many matriarchs are running many places in the world quietly, and the men are representing the families, but it's the women who are making a lot of the decisions in the background. But
I love it. I love to hear. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that, because I think that. And it's interesting, because for me, like the idea of like Western and Eastern, like that, even like that terminology itself, like I personally always challenge it, because it's this idea of like really what is West and what is East depends on where you're located and your perspective, right? Because the planet Earth is a globe, right? So I think that, like this, like, even like going back to what I was saying earlier about like the hyphenization of names, right? Like the Italian American or German American, or you don't hear that often, right? And you hear usually like African American or like and it's, or Filipino American. It's usually those that are tan or those that are like indigenous that have to hyphenate. And it's like, for me, all of this goes back to language. Like as a poet, as someone who is a language worker, a language weaver, like I recognize it, like our mindset, our programming, like all of it goes back to, all of our beliefs go back to like, what have we been told? What have we heard? What have we read? What have we been programmed through like television programming, right? That's literally what it is. It's like, how can we deprogram ourselves and actually choose for ourselves what are the programs that we want to be running in our lives, so that we can actually live the lives that we're like meant to be living. So I think
just being more informed.
Yes,
so much. So what would you say is the most challenging aspect of where you're at in your life today? And we can take into consideration that you are genetically female, you were born female, you are a practicing Sikh, you come from the, would you say Latino background, or what would you say?
I would say like Latinx, just
Latinx,
as gender neutral.
Okay, Latinx, and then your father being from Lebanon. So at this moment where you're at right now today, what would you say is the biggest challenge for you just interacting in this world right now?
I just love the fact that like these questions about like the challenges, I'm like, I literally cannot think of any right now. Like life is really good, where it's like, I think also just like how we show up in the world reflects the world that we inhabit. And I think that, I will give you one. So I recently moved back home with my mom. And so I think right now the challenge that I'm having is an intergenerational challenge, where, she might have been raised with a specific script, right? A mental program, a specific like set of beliefs that are not necessarily beliefs that I've ever held or ever run. And I think that this, I guess, being able to see eye to eye with someone that is of a different generation, I think is a, as you were saying, similar to like this like religious loop, right? For me, it's like the loop of Father Time, where like, what is it, like Saturn that eats his children, I believe.
I don't know that.
It's in mythology, it's like there's a painting called Saturn devouring his son or child. So it's this idea, so it's like this idea that like the children will typically tend to be of a more advanced and evolved consciousness, and evolutionarily speaking. So for me, it's like I'm wanting to share a lot of the things that I'm learning with my mom, and like she's like I guess resistant to it, right? Resistant to change. And I think that that's why for me it's so important that we have like an open heart, but also an open mind, right? Because as quickly as someone can learn something, it's also just as important to be able to unlearn, right?
Absolutely.
We have to make space.
I think unlearning
Right.
is way more difficult and challenging than learning.
Yeah.
You
Why
know?
do you think so? Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure. But it's something that I'm seeing, just with the work that I've been doing with Sacred Earth Journey.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you've just recently moved in with your mother. I've just recently moved in with my father.
Oh, wow.
And I've started another playlist called Midlife Culture, The Second Journey.
Oh, wow, this is amazing. Wow.
I love that you are living with your mother and that this is an opportunity that you have. This is something we don't see in the West a lot. There's not a lot of extended family cohabitation, is not as much as what it is in a lot of other countries.
Yes.
And so do you find that there are things you're learning from your mother, though, that are beneficial to you, you starting to live with her now?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think that from a energetic standpoint, I'm just always flabbergasted with just how humble she is. Like, she is just one of the most generous and caring and loving and, yeah, as I said, humble people that I've ever met. It's like she, like, if anybody needs anything, she's like always going to be the first one to say, like, how can I help? That being said, what I'm trying to teach her is the concept of boundaries. The concept of, like, it's okay to take care of yourself, because when we're pouring from an empty cup, then we don't have anything for ourselves, right? So for me, it's always important, like, we have to fill ourselves up first, and then we can pour into others, right? We have to, and it's not selfish. Like, self-care is not selfish, right? And I think that that's, like, the challenge that we have. She's someone who, like, works a lot, and I'm hoping to show her that, like, work doesn't have to be difficult. It can be joyful. It can be a source of just energy. It can be something that just, like, lights up your life. We do not have to live, like, difficult lives. Like, that's a choice, right?
I have a feeling that's probably a generational thing.
Yeah.
And so that's understandable.
Yeah.
Why she's like that. It's that her generation, my father's generation, they are, especially the women of that generation, were very much just a part of that servant heart mentality.
Yeah.
I think that's just how a lot of them were raised.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Finding that balance is really, really good. How did you come into Sikhism? What brought you, because you were, I think, from what I understand you saying before, you were a part of the Christian, maybe charismatic faith. How did you discover Sikhism? What led you to it?
Yeah, great question. So I actually I graduated from high school, and I was, I had a lot of, like, high ranking, like, accolades, and just, like, I was very grateful that I had the opportunity to learn in the school that I did, in the environment that I did, but I also recognized that I didn't necessarily want to move forward with education if I didn't necessarily know that it was the correct choice in my heart of hearts.
Okay.
So for me to just have jumped into school, like university, college, like, right away, like, would not have been correct in my soul. So I ended up taking 2 years off after high school, and during those 2 years off is when I started to do a lot of research on, like physics, metaphysics, psychology, philosophy. There was this one particular book called World Philosophies, and I don't remember if I'm the kind of person where, like, in my childhood, I read an encyclopedia, like, from front to back, because that was fun. That's my idea of fun. Like, that's a Saturday night, like, party for me. Like, I can party also, but, like, or have and previously, but just, like, I just love learning. She's
astronomically smart.
I'm humbly learning every day, and just I don't know anything, and so. But so out of high school, I started, like, researching, and I came across this book, and I don't remember if I, like, was reading it from, like, the beginning to the end, or just for whatever reason, I only have notes, like, handwritten notes on, like, the India chapter.
Okay.
And I only took notes on that chapter, and that's where I was learning about, like, reincarnation, karma, dharma, moksha, and all of these, like, concepts that I didn't realize were of the Hindu, like, religion. I was just learning of it, like from a philosophical standpoint.
Okay.
So I started learning about
You
that.
were what, 18, 19?
18,
Okay.
yeah, 18, from like 18 to 20. I was like researching this, and that's when I first encountered yoga. And I was like really wanting to practice, but I think that like living in the Bible Belt, I had seen that most of the yoga teachers were these like white American women. And I was like, for whatever reason, at that point in my life, I was not as fully integrated as I am now, and I'm not fully, but I'm working on it, right? But there was like this resistance that I had, that I was like, I don't want to learn a practice that is an Indian cultural practice from someone that is not of that culture.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And that was like a really just like a clear, distinct decision that I made, that I was like, no, if I'm going to learn something about, you want
to go to the source.
Source. Yeah. So I ended up pausing that, I guess, like branch of my journey. And it wasn't until after my dad started getting sick health-wise. So I guess like around 2018, I had already graduated from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, which is like one of the like top art schools in the US. And I ended up, asking my dad to just like, do some exercise, change his diet, and those changes didn't happen. And my dad was like diabetic, and he ended up having a lot of just like a lot of health difficulties. And so in 2018, I was living in Chicago 3 years after having graduated from university, and I met this wonderful indigenous woman that was teaching yoga, and shout out to Mariana, and I'm super grateful for her teachings, because she ended up being, I guess, like my way in, where I was like, okay, like I haven't come across an Indian yoga teacher, but okay, at least I would be learning it from like an indigenous teacher. And her organization at the time was called Yoga Tolteca, so Toltec yoga, and now I believe it's been renamed to Tolteca Healing Arts. And she's also like I believe a Reiki master, and just multimodality, incredible healer as well. And so I ended up learning from her. And then I started, I guess like during the pandemic, she had stopped teaching, or I think she had gone back for her psychology degree. And so she stopped teaching yoga for some time, but I was already hooked. I was like, this is life-changing, like literally like transformative. And so I ended up continuing to learn yoga online, and shout out to Yoga with Adrienne. I highly always recommend, and this is like a white woman teaching yoga, but she also had like a theater background, and I was like, just her energy and just her spirit like can be felt through like the screen. And I was like, I can vibe with her, like she's super chill. Like I was like, yeah, I'm here for this. So I kept learning with her online, and as it turns out, I believe at that point, during the pandemic is when Clubhouse became a thing.
Yes,
and,
it did.
And I had a friend who invited me to it. And as it turns out, I had this moment where I was like, oh my God, like not another app. I cannot do this. I'm like, I rarely post on Instagram. I rarely post on TikTok. Like I don't really, like I post a lot on Facebook, but it's always like reposting, right? I would occasionally post my own original content, but I was like, I don't think I want to do this. Like it's a lot. Like, and I just had a moment of pause where I was like, what is this like negativity? What is this resistance in my mind? And I was able to catch that and question it and say like, why am I not open to something that could be like an opportunity, right? Yeah. And so like I saw that outside of myself, and I was like, you know what? Like no, like I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna try it. And thank Creator that I did, because after creating a club called Spiritual Storytelling, I eventually was hosting these rooms where people would come in and we would write together, whether it be poetry or stories.
Nice, yeah.
We would write together, and it was like a beautiful community that was like starting to form. And we would, read each other's works and read them out loud and critique and offer feedback.
That's
and it
so
was just,
cool.
It was so chill, and it was just like, and I met a wonderful poetry community there, and it was just like a really fun time.
Were these people from various cultures? Spiritual backgrounds?
Yeah, and from all over the world.
Nice.
Like literally, because Clubhouse is open like all the time.
Right.
So it was just a really cool space. And yeah, I really vibed with that environment of, especially being like an audio-based platform where we're not like distracted by our sight, and rather we're really like listening to like one another, like from the heart. And it was amazing, because apparently for whatever reason, my energetic broadcast like, attracted the most amazing souls. And,
so cool.
And I ended up meeting this amazing human being called Ruth, and Ruth Kaur, and I didn't know anything about Sikhism. She came to my room several times when it was just called Free Write Open Mic.
Okay.
And we would write together, share with each other. And there was this moment where I was like, she's super chill. I want to get to know her more. Like,
yeah.
I see just like the energy is like vibing. Like, I want to get to know her more. Like, let me interview her. So I interviewed her, and I just found out we had so much in common, and just like totally like connected with her. And like maybe like a month later or something like that, I need to like look back on my text messages, but sometime later, shortly after, she ended up messaging me, and she said that her guru was visiting from India, and that she wanted me to meet them.
Yeah.
And that this would be in California. And again, I was able to catch this moment of like your guru, like, what does that even mean? Like, is this person legit? Like, I've seen so many like fake pastors, fake preachers, people who like talk a lot, but they don't practice what they preach.
Yeah.
So for me, that the hypocrisy within religion is what really turned me off. Right.
That's very common right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that humans will always be flawed, and I think this will always be a thing. And for me, like through Sikhism, I'm learning just like giving myself grace to make mistakes, and giving others that same grace, right?
Yeah.
And recognizing that like I make mistakes, and if Creator can forgive me, then I can learn how to forgive others.
That's
I'm really learning that lesson, actively learning that lesson. And so she invited me, and I had this like what? Like, you know, what does that even mean? Like, there's nowadays like the fitness guru, the health guru, the money guru, the finance guru, whatever. And like the word guru has completely lost its original meaning.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, for me to go to California, at least I would be meeting this friend who I've only met her online, and it would be amazing to meet her in person, right?
Absolutely,
So I was like, if nothing else, I can meet Ruth, right? And so I flew to Fresno, California, and this is summer of 2022. And I like attended my first like early morning. It's called Amrit Vela Simran. So Simran is like the practice of meditation.
Okay.
And Simran, to my knowledge, means to remember. So it's meditation means to remember, right? To like remember that we are all the divine, to remember our true self, our true nature.
Okay.
And so I ended up going to this morning practice, and I had already been practicing yoga at that point for 4 years, right? 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, so for like 5 years, let's call it 4. I'd already been practicing yoga, and I was already vegan at the time. Yeah, I was already vegan. I was already practicing yoga. I was already like not shaving my legs, and just learning just bodily self-acceptance, and just like being fully like, you know, not concerned with things of the world, right? And a lot of people were suffering during the pandemic because of just obviously this health pandemic.
Yeah.
For me personally, I always say that I was not as affected because I had this online community, and I was okay. I was like, oh, I get to stay home. I love staying home. Oh, I get to like, for me, it was not like the worst thing that can happen. I was like, oh, finally people are gonna get to go inwards. Like that's what was needed in the world. And thankfully it did happen. Like it was a catalyst for this like transformation of consciousness, like at a global scale, right?
Yeah.
Higher percentages. And so I met Ruth, had this amazing like Simran experience where I literally, it was like an out-of-body experience where I was like, my soul was above my body, and I was just like in the astral realm, and I was like, whoa, like I've been practicing yoga. I've never had this level of a transcendental experience. There's something here that I don't know that I want to learn and I want to know. And so I literally was just like, okay, like there's truth within Sikhism that like is a universal truth that, you know, I had at that point already read a lot of the Bible. I still haven't read the whole Bible, and it's on my to-read list. I grew up just listening to the stories as a child and reading a lot of it, but haven't done the whole thing yet. I did read the whole Quran, and I've just always been really interested in spirituality. So but I hadn't read the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I hadn't even heard of it. Like Sikhism is such a like underrepresented religion, and it's one of the youngest. It's only like a little over 555 years. Like the 555th anniversary Gurpurab is what it's called. It's like the I wouldn't say like it's like the incarnation of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Like that just happened. I think it was 2023, if I recall correctly. So literally like the year after my first time going to India. But so I had this incredible meditation experience, and then I was like, wow, okay, this is legit. Yeah. And then on top of that, to see a community that has like a free community kitchen that like are actively like practicing what they preach, right? It's not just like, let's be better humans. It's like actively like, how can I be more of service to others? How can I like give more of myself, right? And so I saw this and I was like, this is legit. And just like everyone eats at the same level, like everybody like, you know, eats the same food. And I think that for me personally, like that's the food aspect, as I mentioned earlier, like that's where I personally have some challenges like within Sikhism, where I'm like, like to not be vegan is in my, as I've learned throughout this journey, like is also a form of speciesism, right? Because literally like these cows are enslaved, and the minute that we start to like shift our perspective and we recognize that the entire industrial agriculture system is a system of enslavement of animals, and that we are not any better than animals, like for me that's really like where like I would love for like Sikhism to transform, to grow, to evolve. Or if it's not Sikhism, like, you know,
maybe it's
perhaps,
something else. Who knows?
Yeah. Like within like Facebook, I am part of many fruitarian groups, and I see just like so much like faith and this like Edenic, as in like Eden, this like Edenic mindset where we recognize that like we are what we eat, right? And there's this breatharian that I really, I wouldn't say admire, but I respect and recognize a lot of their work. And I think like on his Facebook page, he has something that says like show me what you eat and I'll show you who you are, or something like that.
Okay.
And I think
I've seen this person.
Oh, okay, you might know. Yeah. And so as it turns out, I'm recognizing that like in the same way that, you know, let's say you have an iPhone 8, like you can't run an operating system of an iPhone 17 on an iPhone 8, right? They're not compatible.
Right.
So in my experience, the more I've been upgrading my hardware, my physical vehicle, the more I've improved my physical health, the more my consciousness, the mindset, the software that I'm running has been upgrading.
Okay.
So for me, like they go hand in hand. Like there's no separation there. And so for me, like I'm like hoping, I know that the Sangha that I am most connected to, they just recently started a health group, which I'm like super happy and proud of.
There you go.
Because like, I think that like, that's also been part of my journey where like I recognize that like, yes, we can talk a lot about spirituality, but when we don't take care of our physical bodily homes, that reflects on the outside of how we take care of our planetary home. There's no separation, right? And because, you know, there's litter on the street, there's smog in the air, there's the acidification of oceans, there's deforestation, there's, you know, wildfires that could be controlled fires, right? If like the original stewards of the land were permitted to properly steward.
Absolutely.
Like it's for me, I see the parallelism, and I'm hoping that more folks can awaken to that like, how we take care of ourselves affects how we care for others. Like if I don't give myself the time and space to meditate in the morning and prioritize the divine and prioritize my own mental health by meditating and creating the space within, you know, space between thoughts where I'm opening myself up to universal consciousness to flow through me, then I can't hold space for others. I can't fully be present with others, right?
I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, regardless of what your faith background is, or how you worship and all the things. I think there's so much universal truth to that concept. And I think that's beautiful. What is one way that, for anybody who's watching or listening, what is one recommendation that you could make for people to show up more responsibly or with more compassion to those who are a part of the Sikh community? Sikh, am I saying it right? Sikh or Sikh?
Yeah, Sikh, I
Sikh
think is
community?
yeah, but both work. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So for me, there's this idea of like, my dad would always say that the onus of understanding, or like the responsibility of understanding, is on the speaker and not the listener, right?
Mm.
So for my dad, whenever he would explain something, he would never say, hey, like, do you understand what I just said? Instead, he would always say, did I explain myself correctly in order to be understood, right? And I think that the global community would deeply benefit from taking that responsibility and having that sense of accountability of like I guess it's both sides, right? Like, have I researched enough? Have I educated myself enough? But also the responsibility that I would put onto like the Sikh community is, have I communicated enough or well enough? You know, what it is that the pillars of Sikhism are, what it is that like the five thieves are, the five virtues, like the five Ks, like the representations of the physical, tangible, like representations of the Sikh faith. Like for me, prior to meeting my friend Ruth, I didn't know anything about Sikhism, and I don't want to say it's like a marketing issue, because literally like Guru Nanak Dev Ji is, from a marketing perspective, I think an absolute marketing genius, right? It's this idea of like, whereas Jesus also was a marketing genius, whereas like, you know, he shared stories through the oral spoken word, right?
Storytelling,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, on the flip side, shared this divine wisdom through song. And for me, as an educator, especially like when I would educate younger children, like ages 3 to 5, I recognize that like sometimes the best way for someone to learn something is through the repetition,
right?
But with music, right? With rhythm, with song, and with the storytelling woven into it, right?
Absolutely.
So for me, I think just like more music. Let there be more music. Let there be more singing. Let there be more joy. Let there be. I think the Sikh community. I grew up actually dancing in my church. I would play,
nice. Yeah.
I would play the tambourine.
Yeah.
And this is like the Christian church when I was younger, like around the time that I got baptized, and I was like really like into it.
Yeah.
And so for me, I know that like Sikhism is about stillness, but something that I love about, oh my goodness, I'm blanking right now. Rumi was a
Sufi.
Sufi, thank you. Yeah. Within Sufism.
Yeah. So storytelling, arts.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way, and we're about to wrap up, but it's to find that balance of educating and informing, or storytelling, without attempting to conquer or convert.
Yes.
You know, so there really has to be such that balance. I believe it's appropriate to be able to wisely share about your faith, your background, your heritage, your culture, in such a way that it's informing as opposed to coming in to conquer. I think that's important. But it has been such a pleasure. Yeah, go ahead.
Could I comment just really quick on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that we're coming into an era of divine femininity, where we recognize that, especially nowadays with like manifestation and the law of attraction being like total buzzwords, where we recognize that you attract more bees with honey, right? Is that the same? Yeah. It's about like, can I put something out into the world that is so beautiful that I naturally attract those who are at that frequency?
They just show up curious.
Exactly. As opposed to forcing something down someone's throat. That's like the conqueror colonizer mindset, right? That we're like, that you're advocating like to evolve away from.
Yeah, and this is something that I've seen that is very much present within the Islamic community, within the Sikh community, and many others, naturalist communities, and just in just some other areas. And it presents in such a more palatable way. But when you're so dogmatic and showing up in a colonizing way, in a conquering way, it just does not leave a good taste. So, Gunwant, it has been such a pleasure having you on and just learning from you and just hearing about your journey and just your attitude, your vibe, your personal outlook, all the things. Can you please just briefly share how can people find you? How can they get to know more about you and your journey and maybe join the journey with you?
Yes, thank you
Absolutely.
as well. Yeah, it's been a pleasure and honor to share space with you and to literally have a what is it an interview, to enter each other's view, right?
Yeah.
To really, I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So folks can connect with me online. I am on all social media platforms as Goddess Gunwant. That is at GODDESSGUNWANT, Goddess Gunwant. And you can connect with me there, reach out. I am doing many different projects. I am a yoga teacher, holistic healer, educator, artist. So I've created separate channels for each of those passions and gifts and virtues that I have. And the name Gunwant means virtuous person. So Gun means virtue, and then when you add the want to it, it's a virtuous person. So I've created separate channels for that, just in order for me to be organized and focused. But I'm happy to connect with others, and happy to continue, connecting with you.
Yeah, and we'll have the links in the description as well, so you don't have to go just by sound or by memory. We'll put that in the description. And it's been a pleasure. So, all right. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining Sacred Earth Journey, where we travel the world unfiltered, where strangers become tribe, and global peace begins at kitchen tables.